thankful for you to take the time to speak with us about, the issues that are impactful to older adults and in particular to older LGBTQ adults. And we know our constituents will be happy to have had an opportunity to hear what the Attorney General's office is doing to ensure protections for older adults.
And thanks for having me with you. I appreciate it very much. And thanks for everything you all are doing to reach out and talk to folks about this issue.
Wondering if you would just share, just to start off, just sharing with us your efforts and preventative measures to address abuse, neglect, exploitations of of older adults in the senior living facilities.
When I was elected Attorney General, one of the things that I knew I wanted to focus on was protecting older adults from abuse and really sort of tackling elder abuse in a way that I don't think an Attorney General has done in a long, long time. And so we wanted to really tackle elder abuse in two different areas. First, financial exploitation, and second, physical elder abuse. And so we have done that through our civil division as well as our criminal division, which usually can handle both financial and physical abuse. But stepping back a little bit and sort of to understand why this is it's important in every state, but it's particularly important in Arizona, where we have a growing older population. And, we know that 1 out of every 10 older adults will experience some form of abuse or exploitation, which is a pretty shocking number. And then zooming in on Arizona, according to the Internet Crime Complaint Center, Arizona had 289 elder fraud cases per 100,000 seniors in 2023, which was the highest rate in the country. And it's highly likely that that trend has only continued. And so it's just clear that this is something that every law enforcement officer in the state of Arizona needs to focus on. So we've done a number of things. We have really targeted, fraudsters and scammers by trying to educate Arizonans about the various frauds and scams that are out there, including romance scams, which are really on the rise. Using technology, we see way too many seniors being targeted on Facebook and Instagram and getting sucked into non-relationships that folks think are real relationships, and then they end up being defrauded of their money. We are seeing people who are becoming the victims of voice cloning scams, where especially seniors are being targeted by fraudsters by getting a little clip. They'll get a little clip of the voice of their grandchildren and then extrapolate that and then call them and make it sound like their grandchild is being held for ransom. And then the senior is asked to go to a Bitcoin machine or to make a wire transfer to the fraudster to free their grandchild. Believe it or not, that is actually happening. It happened to a member of my staff here at the Attorney General's office. So and then of course we're seeing the increasing rise in the number of text related scams. So recently, there was a text that went out to, hundreds of thousands of people that said that they needed to pay a toll road fee. We don't have toll roads in Arizona. There was one from the Ministry of Communications saying that people owed money. So part of our effort is to educate people. I'm doing town halls all over the state of Arizona, all throughout Arizona, to say be on the lookout for this. Talk to each other. Seniors need to be talking to each other, and their children need to be talking to them about this. Hey, if you get this, somebody calls you and you don't know who they are, hang up on them. Do not take that phone call, or don't click on that email or that text message that is really just a phishing effort against you to try to get your hard-earned money. And then, one of the other areas that we've really been trying to be very aggressive in is just going after long-term care facilities that are allowing abuse to happen in them. And so we did that in one case. We identified a long-term care facility that had allowed so much abuse, physical elder abuse, that we took it over. We essentially got it into receivership, which we believe is the first time that any attorney general has ever put a long-term care facility into receivership because of the poor care that was being provided to residents in that long-term care facility. The other thing that we are doing is we are intervening in pre-existing uh, plaintiffs' cases against long-term care facilities, and we're making arguments that those facilities should not be using what are called secrecy clauses in their paperwork upon admission to the long-term care facility. And they were actually doing that. They were getting you to sign a clause that said if you end up in arbitration or end up getting a settlement against that long-term care facility for abuse, you're not allowed to tell law enforcement, including the Attorney General's office, about it, which prevents me from knowing when abuse is happening and where it's happening. And so we are increasingly getting those secrecy clauses stricken and getting, stricken either by courts or now voluntarily by long-term care facilities, which are now increasingly voluntarily saying we will not use these things. So those are just a few ways that we are trying to protect seniors from both physical elder abuse and financial elder abuse. Finally, I'll say that we just launched the first ever elder abuse website. It's a web page on the Attorney General's website at azag.gov that lists all of the cases, all of the ongoing civil cases and criminal cases and fines against long-term care facilities. It's an elder abuse registry, and that had never been put together in one place. And so now, as you are choosing where to go, if you're personally entering a long-term care facility, or you have a loved one who is about to go into a long-term care facility, you can go to this site, which is on our site, and take a look at their track record
Yeah.
of the place that you're about to go. And it'll give you the opportunity to make an informed decision.
That's really critical information for us to pass along to our constituents who are oftentimes looking to us as an LGBTQ organization for information and referrals. We do provide a tech time group once a month, and in that group, we do address some of those issues that render them vulnerable in terms of exploitation with technology. A couple
Yeah,
of questions.
and I think if I could just key
Yep.
off of that point, I just think that, in this day and age, we are increasingly isolated from one another, and that makes us vulnerable to attempted scams and to abuse. And the other thing that we know is that we all love love, right? We all want to be in love. And we want that throughout our lives, no matter how old we are, no matter who we are. We all love love. And so these fraudsters and these scammers know that.
Right.
And so they know that. And then they also have these so many more avenues to get to us. So we are increasingly isolated physically from one another. We increasingly have these phones and screens in front of us. And and so they have so many more opportunities to get at us. And so that can make for a really, really dangerous brew of vulnerability.
Yeah. And I think that is when you're talking about marginalized community, I think you can kind of take that and multiply it. You
Right.
know, it's a big concern for us in the LGBTQ community is for our transgender and gender diverse community members. Is there anything that the Attorney General's office is doing, or is it on the horizon to do, if not, to encourage senior living facilities to ensure that they are being affirming with transgendered and gender diverse residents? And I could just share with you, one of our programs is that we match volunteers with older LGBTQ adults to help them age safely in place in their homes. But we're also the only organization that goes on into care facilities to kind of reduce their isolation. And I think the national statistic is like 75% feel older adults feel invisible in those facilities. And
Mm.
this is after a lifetime of advocating for being out as an LGBTQ person and having felt safe. And I know that we're out there trying to educate. I just didn't know whether that was on the Attorney General's radar at all when you're working with some of these senior living facilities.
Yeah, well, that is a really interesting that's very interesting information, and I was not aware of that. But I will say this. No matter what, my office will protect you. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't, it does not matter what your background or who you are. This office will protect you. And I would add, we also have a civil rights section at the Attorney General's office that we have revived here after many years of it being quite moribund under Republican leadership. Everyone deserves civil rights protections. Everyone and regardless of who you are, you will receive the same protections of this office as everyone else. And so I wouldn't say I can't say that we have anything affirmative on point there, but that is something that, protecting the civil rights of the LGBTQ community is certainly something that I intend to do as the first openly gay attorney general in the history of Arizona. Um, and certainly long-term care facilities are not, places where the law stops at the door.
Mhm.
The protections of the law don't stop at the door of a long-term care facility. And that's something that we have been trying to get across to the long-term care facility ownership community, which is you're not immune to the law, to civil rights, to the laws protecting people against abuse, to the laws protecting people against financial scams. You have to follow the law, and so I would answer that question that way.
And we certainly appreciate everything that your office and that you are doing in advocating for and protecting older adults in general and the LGBTQ community. So I guess really as just a final question, how can organizations like Southern Arizona Senior Pride and the community in general support the AG's efforts in ensuring the safety and well-being of older adults?
Well, what I would do that, thank you for that question. What I would ask is just continue to get the information out there about these scams. Please continue to reach out to the community, and talk to, our, older LGBTQ community members, about the scams and abuse that could potentially be headed their way so that they have the tools they need to arm themselves against it. I really think that the first line of defense against abuse, whether it's financial or physical, is information sharing and connectivity, talking to each other, having
Mhm.
somebody that you can trust, that you can bounce ideas off of, or tell them about if something's happening to you, or if somebody thinks something is fishy about an email that you just got, or something just happened to you that you feel is wrong. That connectivity, we need to increase that connectivity between one another so that we can fight elder abuse.
Great. And we will certainly do our part with that by reaching out to our constituents near and far throughout the states. Thank you so much for your time. We certainly appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you.
You too, Mary. Thanks, Mary.